what would you say are some trends are you seeing in the marketplace right now with cyber liability insurance?
Yeah, ransomware is always going to be up there. Social engineering, and I think that's been aided by your favorite thing, Deb, artificial intelligence.
Yes, my favorite thing is AI.
I think between the social engineering, AI, and ransomware, those are definitely, I think from a loss perspective and the things that are really impacting this industry, those are the two things that I would probably say we can talk on for a little while.
So what do you think our agents have to be aware of? Like, what do you think they should be aware of, different changes and pricing and conditions within the marketplace as well?
Losses are always going to be one of the biggest things that's going to kind of drive a market from hard to soft, soft to hard. We've continued to see an increase in ransomware. For those who have been doing cyber going back the last couple of years, we all know kind of the relative headache we all suffered and went through during the 2020 to 21 ransomware epidemic. And while we've done a lot as a society, as an economy to defend ourselves better, ransomware has started to increase in prevalence. There's a lot of other factors, overseas conflicts that potentially some of the gangs and ransomware attacks that were being perpetrated are now kind of coming back, and they're now looking for basically, money again. So that's always going to be up there. And then, I think more concerning to me right now is the increase in a lot of social engineering attacks. That's always been something that's been we needed to be concerned with. It's one of the reasons why cybercrime is critically important on any cyber policy. But I believe that with the kind of explosion in generative AI that is able to increasingly sound like a person, look like a person, we've seen demonstrations of video of purely AI built individuals. That is something that I think brokers really do need to be aware of, because it's a conversation that we have to be having with our clients.
Absolutely. I think right now, cybercrime and getting as much as you can within the insurance policy as high limits, excess limits, is something that's very important, especially, like you said, everything that's happening with AI and impersonations and so on. And I definitely have seen a rise in claims with the social engineering. I think it's something that brokers don't really quite understand it, and they see small sublimits, not a lot of coverage for it, but they don't know if they come to an expert like us, we can get them excess policies.
Other than the small sublimits, a lot of people believe that, like, I've got a crime policy and it has computer fraud on it. Really being able to identify the differences there between what those two exposures mean, because it can be very confusing. But in an environment where we have more attacks coming from the outside than you have from the inside, having individuals be able to identify the difference between computer fraud that emanates from within an organization, which is really what a crime policy is designed to provide the coverage for, to what we're talking about here, which is a robust cyber crime coverage on a cyber policy, which is intending to protect you from the attacks that come from outside of your organization, which is definitely the thing that should keep all of us who work in this industry up a little bit more at night than the potential for the inside.
What agents have to remember is that a cyber liability policy is a risk management tool. So you're buying the policy, you're also buying a lot of risk management that comes with the policies as well. Most major insurance carriers have a whole host of tools they can help implement. They sell the software to help implement that. So agents do have to sell that portion of it as much as they are just the limits and retentions and coverage as well.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think understanding what you get, and that's where having a qualified professional, like us here at Jencap, having those conversations can really point you to what are you actually getting here. I mean, the insurance is a small part of it. I've said before, I mean, outside of middle market and large enterprise, when you're talking small, medium-sized businesses, I've said before that there's not as much value in the liability coverages that you're going to get in an insurance policy. Obviously, you're getting that value, but it's the first party coverage, but also, to the point you just made, Deb, the service that comes with that, the monitoring services that are increasingly becoming a value add, the educational tools that companies will get who may not already have those for their staff to get basic education on identifying phishing attacks, those social engineering attacks we just talked about, as well as, just general understanding of how the attackers try to get in. That's an incredibly important aspect of a modern day cyber product.
When I'm talking to agents and we're talking about cyber liability, or if I'm talking to their clients, a lot of it is I do sell it as a risk management product, not so much an insurance policy, in my opinion. It's your one place you have to go to your insurance company in case your identity is breached. I mean, it happens to us personally, and you don't know where to go. You don't know where to get all the credit monitoring and all these different tools that you have to do to clean up your credit and to clean up your identity from being protected. So this policy gives a business one step, one place, one insurance carrier to talk to that will lead them through everything immediately.
And that's great for business continuity in and of itself. I mean, to have a business owner understand that if they came in on a Monday and they've got that ransomware attack and their entire company is down, giving them that outlet, it's like, this is the phone number you call, this is the app that you're going to go to, and you continue to run your business while, what you've paid for goes to work for you. That is an important message for everybody to hear.
Let's talk a little bit about CrowdStrike and what happened with that disaster, almost disaster, I should say.
CrowdStrike is a pretty popular EDR tool that a lot of companies use, and in fact, Microsoft uses as kind of background Azure EDR for them. And there was an issue regarding really just human error. I mean, really somebody who pushed a patch through, and not to oversimplify anybody in that field, but it literally came down to where there was a 1, there should have been a 0, or vice versa. And for about a day, it really crippled quite a few industries. So airlines were down for a significant amount of time. Businesses, a lot of folks who relied on Office 365 had issues. And I think it really highlighted for a lot of clients the potential that a contingent business interruption, and more importantly, a contingent system failure could potentially have to them as a business.
It was the type of situation where it literally took down half of the companies in the United States. Even business interruption being part of it, we saw how potentially some type of cyber terrorism can occur from it, or ransomware situation can happen. I think we were kind of just lucky that it was just business interruption.
That morning, as it was kind of a developing situation, there was a lot of, what is it? Is it this? Is it an attack, et cetera? As we started to realize what was ongoing, and you really started to see businesses coming online slowly, some quicker than others, it really did kind of highlight a few, from pure contingent business interruption, making sure that you had that. But then from that perspective, the contingent business interruption in terms of the waiting periods and what actually has to occur. And Deb, better than I do, most likely, that, in cyber, there's no two policies that are written the exact same. And so that's really where you need to really pay attention to the details in the language that you have in that policy to figure out what's the trigger, what's the waiting period, what's actually included in business interruption to continue to use what you basically pay for.
With the cyber liability policies, like you just said, not all policies are the same. A lot of times that you don't even think about the business interruption portion of the cyber liability policy. So sometimes that's sublimited. You don't have the full limit. You don't even have the coverage sometimes at all. And then other times it doesn't extend to dependent business interruption. So it's really important, as there's all these different platforms where a lot of people are quoting things online. I think it's really important to remember to use a cyber specialist when you're looking at cyber liability insurance, because like you said, no two policies the same, and there's some coverages that are much better than others. And I think you do have to have an expertise in cyber liability insurance in order to properly place it.
Not even just from the perspective of the insurance aspect of understanding policy language, how waiting periods apply, but I also think from picking a broker to work with, having somebody who not only understands the insurance language, but we don't have to be IT professionals, but have a understanding of how a lot of businesses operate in the sense of, cloud-based platforms and what those exposures can look like. It's one thing to understand the language, but if you're having a conversation with someone, being able to kind of help them identify exposures that they may not have thought of goes a long way. And I think, to your point, making sure you have someone who has that base level of understanding of a potential exposure is incredibly important in the ever evolving, cyber realm.